Welcome back to Unpacking Success. I'm really excited about today because I have Nick Medina, serial entrepreneur, owns multiple different concepts, and I'm really excited to talk to you today because just there's so many things to talk about and unpack. So, Nick, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me, Bo. Appreciate it.
So the thing I want to do first, usually what I do is I start off by going all the way back to the beginning, but I kind of want to fast forward a little bit.
Okay.
And I want to ask you, what was it that made you want to start a business in the first place?
You know, I think I've always had an entrepreneurial drive, even from early ages, 12, 13, 14. I remember cutting out the classified ads and saying, hey, work from home.
Yeah.
Send in 1995 a cashier's check and,
Yeah.
So I think I've always had that drive.
So talk to me about kind of your upbringing too. So were your parents entrepreneurs? What did that look like? Or was that something that you just had within yourself?
So my parents actually were entrepreneurs. They're actually both immigrants from Mexico. So I was first generation American here.
Yeah.
And basically, they did a lot of sacrificing. They both worked jobs. Was raised by my grandma. They sent us, all three of us, to private school, and so they were really big on education. My dad actually, started off work as a cook. Eventually, he did so well that he got promoted to chef, and then eventually became a partner with one of the other owners, and they grew a bunch of Mexican restaurants in California, and then they also during that time invested in real estate and did that. So I think you learn a lot through what your parents do rather than what they say, and so I think to me that just kind of, I wanted to be as successful as them and surpass them. So.
Yeah, absolutely. So because like usually what I have found talking to entrepreneurs, and I mean, you're a really successful entrepreneur. I mean, people sometimes say, yeah, I'm an entrepreneur, and they just like the title, right? Which is what I'm really excited about to talk to you because obviously you have the title, but you really live it every single day. And I get to see that through you working in your concepts and always thinking about different ideas on how to improve things and make things better. Mm-hmm. But one thing I wanted to ask was, talk to me about that first business that you ever got into. It could be one of the concepts that you have today, but what was that first business that you got into that was like, wow, I'm good at this. I love this. And that was the kind of the drive, the catalyst that made you kind of like say, okay, I'm going to go all in and do this like crazy and go big.
Well, it doesn't necessarily work that way. The first business that I did actually was a failure, and it actually deflated me, and I didn't want to do another business after that. Mm-hmm. So right after leaving the military and then going to ASU, getting a degree in finance. And then I decided, I wanted to be a stockbroker. I wanted to be, until I found out that you had to do sales. And I'm like, I don't want to do sales. That's just not who I am.
Yeah.
And so it just wasn't who I was at the time. And so I ended up going into insurance as an adjuster. And that was,
So what was that first business? What was that first business that failed and completely discouraged you over doing business at all?
So I was working in the insurance. I came across this opportunity to become your own ISP.
Okay.
And I love technology. I always like to, keep on top of what's going on, things like that. And this was like in the early 90s, things like that. And so I don't have to know anything. They're going to teach me everything about business and becoming an ISP and doing all that. And so we bought into that. I ran it for about 2 years, got into about $50,000 in debt. And basically it was a failure. I ended up trying to sell what I could from it. And so, I was just totally deflated at that time. But what that one business did do for me is it actually gave me an idea of what sales was. Because as an entrepreneur, as a business owner of that franchise, I had to know sales. I had to learn negotiation skills. I had to learn how to manage a budget. I had to learn how to. I didn't do payroll because it was only myself and my wife doing it at the time. So it was a solopreneur type of venture. But the way I look at it now, reflecting, is it was a $50,000 seminar.
You talk about sales. Other than that, what was something big? Because you said that it kind of really discouraged you from owning a business or owning a franchise or whatever you were doing. But aside from the sales aspect of it, what else did it teach you?
Well, here's the thing. After that business, I went to actually go work for a telecom company. And so that telecom company brought me on because they saw my resume and said, "Hey, you you used to have your own ISP,
Yeah.
So and we have this great product for ISPs." And then my eyes just lit up, and it's like, I know how to sell this product.
Yeah.
So I know sales, and my sales was going to be more from my style of sales. From that point forward, was going to be more of a consultant style,
Right.
rather than buddy buddies, or like, I hate those type
Right.
of sales pitches.
Yeah.
When I sell, it's about helping you,
Right.
figure out a problem or a pain point.
Okay, so kind of fast forwarding, we're gonna jump all around
Yeah.
here. Fast forwarding now today, where you have multiple hotels, you have multiple concepts, all very creative. We're in one of them today, the White Rabbit in Gilbert. Check it out if you're in the area.
Yeah.
But how did that teach you about, or what did that teach you about running a business today? Because again, I talk about the creativity that you have and the willingness to do things differently and try things that are different and unique. Did that part of your journey at all help you in where you are today?
Yes, because I think we learn more from our failures than we do our successes.
Okay, yeah.
And so I didn't necessarily get from there to here. I mean, there's a lot in between. And so over time, you do different businesses. You fail at most than what you succeed at.
Yeah.
And I think as you go on, you figure out what works and what doesn't.
Right.
And really, you take smaller risks. But you make them quicker and faster, and you just fail, and it doesn't work. Okay, pivot. This doesn't work. Let's pivot again, and then and it's like either it works or it doesn't.
Right.
And then you just cut your losses and just kind of go from there. But I think it comes with just like cold calling, just like sales. It all comes down to making activities, right? It's the activity within that thing,
and the doing rather than just saying I'm going to do this and actually like implementing it and seeing if it works. I want to go a different direction real quick because I learned a lot actually just there about you and your journey from in the beginning.
Right.
Was there ever a part, or was there ever a time in your life where you felt like you weren't good enough?
Oh, all the time.
Is there one in
I
particular?
think all of us go through some kind of imposter syndrome, especially when we pivot from one industry to another and quickly. And it's just like, for a perfect example is the White Rabbit. This was our first hospitality concept. I've been doing telecom for 20 years.
Yeah.
Previous to that, and then all of a sudden, and then we used to be executive offices because we were doing real estate, since 2007.
Yeah.
And then we're like, you know what? Whiskey Row just opened up. There's a bunch of bars. This is, there's opportunity to turn this into some kind of F&B hospitality venue.
Yeah.
And we just took the risk. But, this was further down the timeline.
Yeah.
And so it's like, okay, if this doesn't work, what's plan A, what's plan B, what's plan C?
Okay.
And we basically also did the calculations, and we know, okay, we're going to lose this much if this happens, this much if that happens.
Right.
But thankfully, everything worked out. And then this was all done in stages also. So we did phase 1 was the White Rabbit, and then phase 2 was the second build out to the parlor room. And so it wasn't all at once. And so we kind of did it slowly as well.
Okay, so for those moments in your life where you just felt like you weren't good enough and you would never add up, or your success wasn't meant for you, and this means a lot to me because I've been in that position in my life multiple times. From when I wasn't even doing like the owning your own business thing, and I didn't even care about business. I just cared about just life and happiness and whatever else.
Right.
There's moments in time where you're like, man, I just don't feel like I'm like success is for me, or I have a bright future, or any of those things. So you've been there multiple times. How did you dig yourself out of that?
You go through slumps whenever you lose, and you just basically have to find the motivation to go back out there and get to it again. For me, what got me out of my slump after my first failure was reading the book Rich Dad Poor Dad. And then I realized that, this is who I really want to be.
Yeah.
I really want to go down that track. So for me, it's been books, it's been mentors, it's been now,
interesting.
YouTube. I didn't have that back in the day. But it's also been other people that I've talked to, taking the plunge to do the White Rabbit was the result of me talking to other business owners that had taken that plunge. And the first one, I actually got on the phone and I called this successful guy out of Portland, Oregon. He had like 8 bars, and I said, hey, I'd love to go ahead and pick your brain flying out there. So I went out there. He put me to work because he was just opening up a new bar. So I was there all day.
Yeah.
And, while we were doing that, I was picking his brain. And then he's like, okay, you know what? I'll take you out to dinner tonight, and got to pick his brain. But I think lack of self-confidence comes from the unknown, not knowing what you don't know. So the more you can basically find out, the more you can research, the more you can talk to other people, do the research, demographics, all of that. I think confidence comes with that.
Yeah.
And it makes decisions much easier.
Yeah.
Once you have the information.
So you believe proximity is power.
Absolutely.
And the people that you surround yourself with can change everything.
Yeah, absolutely.
For the good or for the bad.
Right.
Because what is that? There's a proverbs out there, or a saying that goes, if you hang around 5 losers, you're going to become the 6th loser. But if you hang around 5 successful, driven, motivated people, all of that's going to wear off on you, and you're going to become more like that. And honestly, this goes for people who are in business. This goes for people who aren't in business. Like, if you're not happy in your life, take a look at who you surround yourself with. Would you agree?
Absolutely. And those people may change through different seasons of your life too.
Yeah.
And you have different groups and different peers for different pillars in your life.
Right.
I've got friends that I hang out for spirituality. I've got friends that I hang out for health, business, because it's also healthy to be balanced in what you do.
Right.
So that you can be happy in all aspects of your life. Somebody that's just fully dedicated to business without having any kind of focus on family.
Yeah.
And we're all there, as entrepreneurs in our early 20s and 30s. I was more focused on business than I was on family. And looking back, I wish I would have been more balanced. But at the same time, I don't know that I could have gotten here without some unbalancing in the beginning. But eventually, you learn to prioritize, and you learn to do things that what you come to realize what's really important.
Interesting. Okay, so now looking back after being successful, you've accomplished a lot. You say that you wish that you would have been a little bit more balanced, but you acknowledge that it took a little bit of imbalance to get where you are today.
Yeah.
It's worth it. But for a young entrepreneur who is really in the trenches and is building some momentum, but maybe family is lacking, or maybe their spiritual life is lacking, whatever the case may be, what is your advice for them to get back on track, to find that balance, so that, because again, I think everybody would agree that family is the most important thing out of everything.
Right.
And if you are not prioritizing them, then things are going to just fall apart around you. So what is your advice for a young person out there who's wanting to build their empire, but they also don't want to lose everyone and everything around them in the meantime?
I mean, it really depends on where you see your future and what you really want. I mean, when we're young and we're kind of inexperienced, we think we want... It's hard to say whether you're really in love or infatuated, or different things like that. And it's really, do you want the money, or do you want purpose, or do you want what is it that you really want, and why do you want a big house? Do you want it so that you can make other people say, hey, look what I got and you don't have, or what's the reason for having a big house? Yeah. And just really ask yourself, why do you need a fancy car? Why do you need this? Like, I have no ambition to have a big house. I drive a Toyota Tacoma. I love it. Yeah. It's just like, to me, that's just not appealing to me. I think everyone has to figure out what's appealing to them, what they want their life to look like. Yeah. For me, what's important to me are basically experiences. Me and my wife, we take a month off each year and go to Europe or go to Mexico or go somewhere and just travel and just be connected with family. Yeah. When the kids were younger, we did go away for a month to Panama. We'd go away and just do those kind of experiences. Christmas to us just doesn't really... can you really remember what you got for Christmas 8 years ago as a gift? Probably not. Right. But you know what I do remember? Taking the kids to Rockefeller Center that one Christmas and experiencing that. And we still talk about it. And like, oh, yeah, my daughter is like, oh, yeah, I remember that time we went to New York City for Christmas. That kind of, so those are the kind of things that really are important to me. Yeah, I think that's really powerful. So I want to stay here for a second and talk more about purpose. So as a young entrepreneur, young Nick, starting out, building his empire,
There's some failures there. There's some successes there. You built some momentum. At that time, though, what was your purpose and how has that evolved over time?
I think it all comes down to we had no money at the time. And so my purpose was I wanted to build.
Yeah.
I wanted to just make money.
Yeah.
I wanted to basically find opportunities.
Yep.
And just closing the deal.
Yeah.
Get that adrenaline rush from getting the contract in.
Yeah.
That was really my purpose at the time.
Right.
Honestly, I didn't really have any grand vision because I didn't really know how far I could go.
Right.
And so when you're starting out, you just kind of you're just kind of going through the motions and kind of seeing what you can do to build and build and build.
Right. You had made a really important comment before, which is that you didn't have balance, but you acknowledge the fact that that wasn't really an option at that time. Like you were building, having balance in the way that you wish you would have now, looking back, really was impossible in order to make money so that your family could survive. You knew you didn't want to go get a normal job working wherever.
Yeah.
So now looking back though, how exactly, or what is your message for somebody who's in that position of, yeah, I would love to spend more time with my family, but if I don't go out and I don't do these things, then we may be in some serious trouble. The business may be in trouble. I may have to go get a job and spend even more time away from my family. So there's all of these things that a lot of people from the outside don't see. When people see an entrepreneur, they just see the successful businesses and the successful trips and the things that you get to do, but they don't get to see that part of it, which is a real struggle for some people. So speak on that for a sec.
I think what I could have done is I tend to worry about things that I can't control.
Yeah.
And I think that just being in the office 40 hours versus 20 hours, I'm being more productive. But when it comes down to it, looking back, there was a lot of waste of time on different things. I didn't have the 4-hour work week. I didn't have the other mentors that were doing any of that stuff because I just didn't really feel that I was focused on sales and I was focused on doing this. And I felt that the more calls that I can do, the better. But looking back, there's systems and processes that you should research to help you balance that now. There's so many tools nowadays to help you balance that and to actually, it's better to work hard for 10 hours than to work long for 40.
Yeah.
You can accomplish the same thing nowadays with the way systems and processes are out there. You could do that.
Speak on family. So you had mentioned family before. What does family mean in your life today?
Yeah.
And how does that impact the way that you look at future business, future opportunity, or just your life in general going forward?
Well, you look back and you really think, okay, is adding another like 5 or 10 million, is that really, what is that going to do for my relationships? Or like, what is it that you're trying to achieve with that, really? Like adding more wealth, does that do anything for you? Because there's only so much that you can really do with so much money, right? And so at this point, my kids are older, they're in their 20s.
Yeah.
They have everything they need. Yeah. My goal now with them is to just make sure that they're also entrepreneurial minded and that I can help them achieve that. I want to spend time with my new grandson. I want to spend time here, but then I also want to make sure that I'm spending time self-reflecting on what else is it that I want to do and what is it that I want to do to help them. I'm not saying give them everything, because kids that are entitled and if you just give them everything, they're not going to know how to. They're not going to have that hunger, and they're not going to appreciate what they can build. Like the one thing I am appreciative about is that even though I did have a helping hand from my parents, with our first condo and getting all of that, and I'm going to do the same thing for my kids on that. I built the business with with my wife.
So you had made a comment there that spoke on the fact that you want to really help your kids be entrepreneurial minded. Why is that a focus, and why is maybe not education a focus, or going and getting a really good 9-to-5 job with great benefits a focus? Why is the entrepreneurial mindset a focus for you?
I want them to be able to achieve their full potential. And if they can find the right job to be able to do that, then more power to them. If they can find happiness and balance and all of that, I'm not forcing them to do what they don't want.
Right.
But the thing is, like, I think growing up and seeing what they experienced, I think they want to have the same experiences for their families.
Yeah.
And so I just want to make sure that they have the same opportunities. And if they don't want that, that's totally fine as well.
Speak on education for a sec.
Yeah.
There is a lot of talk around college. Is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing?
Right.
I, for one, went to college, kind of regret it. I didn't leave with any debt, so that's not part of it or anything. But it was just the ideology around college and just the fact that it seems like for so long there was this thing that was put into kids' minds that if you don't go to college, you're not going to be successful.
Right.
And for me personally, I know so many people who didn't go to college. I'm not sure if you went to college or not, so we're going to get into that. But I know so many people who didn't go to college that are way more successful financially and in their life and their happiness and what they've been able to accomplish than people who have gone to college and aren't that way. There are a lot of people, of course, who have gone to college and have become successful.
Right.
But it seems like it's not becoming that way as much anymore. So what is your opinion on college and education in that way?
It's funny. My wife and I were just having this conversation the other day because one of our kids went to college and the other one didn't.
Okay.
But I myself, I did go to college. I actually met my wife there.
Okay.
I got a degree in finance. She got a degree in real estate.
Okay.
So, but looking back, it was kind of a waste of time. Like, I don't remember anything about my geology class. I don't remember anything about certain classes. There were a few classes that I still use every day.
Yep.
I.e. accounting.
Yep.
And some of the finance classes and that kind of stuff. But even after that, I took other classes outside of that to help me with my business and things like that. I think the problem with college nowadays is that it's become a business more than it actually is there to serve kids. However, I think with any kind of business, there's going to be a shift.
Yeah.
With AI coming and everything else like that, I think physical colleges are on their way out.
Yeah.
It's just too bloated infrastructure. You have presidents making 6 figures, 7 figures actually, here at ASU, and then it's just becoming too bloated. It's basically big government on steroids with that industry. You can't write off. You can't basically bankrupt any of your debt on that. It's the only type of debt you can't do that to.
Right.
It's just insane. I just think it needs to be revamped. And there's no, and the problem is they made it so easy for everyone to get a degree now that they're basically and the quality and the standards to get a degree have come down significantly.
Right.
That what's the point of even having a degree?
Right.
The point is for them to make a ton of money off of you.
Right.
And you become a debt slave to that degree.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that's the truth.
Unfortunately, that is the opinion of a lot of people right now.
Yeah.
And it does seem like as we, more and more is exposed to us that is becoming the reality of the situation. And you're going to have people who argue against that and who support that and different things. But for people who are coming out of college, for me, I know that I don't really care what somebody's degree is, and I care about what their skill is in. And if they learn that in college, then great. But what you're finding now more and more, especially as technology continues to advance and all these different things that we're seeing, there are people who can, like what you mentioned before, you can go onto YouTube and learn something like a craft, whether it's video editing or whether it's you maybe speaking about how to start your first, and learn so much more during that little time period than going to college for 4 years and spending all of this money. Yeah. So anyways, I wanted to see what your thoughts were on that because it is a heavy topic right now.
Another point on that, I think the new college is actually trade schools. We need more plumbers. We need more electricians. We need more infrastructure.
Yeah.
As we, because here's the thing, AI, a lot of the left brain jobs or a lot of the accounting, attorneys, all of that stuff is going to basically, we're not going to need as many of those trades, unfortunately.
That's so true.
We still need a lot of electricians, plumbers, the infrastructure stuff is what we need right now.
I'd love to know your opinion on that. So you brought up AI, you brought up the fact that it may take jobs, which it's already doing. Where do you think, as it continues to advance, artificial intelligence, where do you think that is going to lead? What kind of impact is that going to have on our society and on jobs? Where do you see that going? Because I know you're heavy into that. I know you like following that kind of thing. So what is your thoughts?
Well, here's the thing. There's nothing different than we've been through this cycle several times. We've had the internet, we've had the railroads, we've had the electric. The automobile.
Yep.
We've had all that stuff, and guess what? We've had the telecom innovations in that.
Yeah.
I remember, like, just because I have a telecom background.
Yeah.
Back in the day, Ma Bell, they used to hire thousands and thousands of operators.
Yeah.
Taxis are probably going to be going away with
Yep.
all that stuff. There's a book called Who Moved My Cheese.
Okay.
If you ever read that book,
I
it
haven't.
basically talks about how there's always a shift in jobs. And so right now, I think that's why I'm saying go into the trades, go into that kind of stuff. That's really where the future is. That's what we
Yeah.
need. And so I think whatever ends up happening is there'll be new jobs. There'll be
Right.
there'll be demand for other stuff to do.
It's just, are you going to learn that, or are you going to allow somebody else to learn it while you're trying to stay focused on the things of the past and,
Exactly.
and stuff like that?
Yep.
Pivoting again. So we talked a little bit about not feeling like you're good enough, not feeling like success is meant for you. For somebody watching this or listening to this, and they just are they're in a rut, or they're in a deep place. Maybe they had a family member die. Maybe they had something horrific happen in their life, or maybe they just are feeling down and depressed, and like they don't have a lot of purpose, right? Which is something we talked about. Describe a time in your life where you were just feeling down, and maybe it was a day, maybe it was a long period of time, but has there been a time in your life where it was just one of the darkest moments of your life, and then how did you escape that?
I mean, it was probably my first failure, right?
Okay.
It was that, but I've had a lot of other experiences,
Yeah.
getting sued by an employee, being involved in wire fraud, being a victim of that, and losing, six figures and things like that. It's just been, as a business owner, I feel sometimes that all you're doing is just basically, I don't want, can I say,
Yeah, of course.
it's basically a shitstorm
Yeah.
it's just all the time.
Yeah.
And you're trying to work on your business.
Yeah.
But you're just getting pummeled, and
Yeah.
what you're trying to do is you're just like trying to make sure the ship doesn't sink.
Yeah.
And so, especially as you have more and more ships out there.
Yeah.
And so, from that, it's more about, but yeah, I mean, you do get depressed and you do that, but then you've got to quickly snap out of it because you have other people relying on you at
Okay.
some point, right? If it's just yourself, that's different, but
so great point. I'm glad that you brought that up, because we've talked about family, and for me, family is a huge reason why I get back up when I get knocked down.
Right.
Because I have no other choice. I need to be there for them.
Yeah.
For somebody who may be by themselves, maybe they've lost all their family, and it's just them now, and maybe they're a younger person and they've lost everything. That is hard, really hard for some people, something that I can't imagine. For them, what is something that you would say to them as far as, look, you're by yourself, it feels you're depressed, it feels like there's nothing on the other side, it seems like it's going to be this way forever. How do they dig themselves out of that hole and start searching for that greater thing?
Here's the thing, and I don't mean to get into. I think what you're looking for is something more on a inspirational level.
Yeah.
But for me, sometimes with depression, or sometimes it has a lot to do with your diet and your gut microbiome. Mm-hmm. And for me, that's really helped a lot.
Wow.
To be honest with you, and then also I listen to other people like Ed Milet and inspirational things like that, and he talks a lot about reframing.
Yeah.
And I try to do that in my life a lot.
Yeah.
I try to take a situation that's bad and that's basically gotten me down.
Yeah.
And I ask myself, okay, God is testing me, the universe is testing me,
Yeah.
because it wants me to be able to get through this so that I can be worthy of going to level 2. So I look at life now as a video game. And I try to get through these things and steps, and it's like, okay, you know what? And I look at life and challenges as them trying to get me down, and so I need to be able to look at those situations and then just basically say, you're not going to beat me. And just try to be stronger and just realize that's what it is.
Yeah.
It's not you, and you're not the victim.
Mm-hmm.
You actually get to participate, and you're actually getting to do that.
Yeah.
And the other thing that I do too is Gary Vee is another guy I listen to on the marketing side, and he does a little mind trick where he says, you know what? My wife is still she doesn't have cancer, my kids are still alive, and all of this. So you take a situation that's worse than what your current situation is, or you and you come to realize it's not that bad.
Yeah.
So
there's a couple things there to unpack, and I really liked what you said. I mean, so it's kind of going backwards about the Gary Vee thing. I've heard that before. Big fan of Gary, and he talks a lot about that. He says, look, I could have everything falling apart with my business. I could have everything falling apart with my life, but look, you know, I can go and I can hug my kids, and I can go and I can see my wife, or whatever. Find the thing that is good about your life and say, I still have that. Right. Even if it's I can breathe, I can walk, exactly. I can use my hands. You know, I'm a big believer on that, because it's like those are all blessings that we are not guaranteed tomorrow. We're not guaranteed once we leave this little studio here. Like, we could walk outside, get hit by a car, and never have our arm again. And it's just crazy how we take these things for granted. So I'm big on that. Mm-hmm. The other thing that you mentioned was health. Right. So I know that a lot of people, there have been a lot of studies that have come out about how health can affect positively or negatively if you go the other way, but it can help your mental frame of mind.
Right.
And if you can just start eating better, and if you can start maybe going a run. I've heard a lot about when you just are outside, it just like the dopamine hits that you get from being outside are crazy. Like, I mean, just like picture it now. Like, if you're listening or watching, and us right now, if you're walking around, like, let's say Flagstaff or somewhere where there's pine trees, and you're walking around and leaves are just falling in front of you, no matter really what's going on in that moment, you're happy. In that moment, you're looking at it, you're hearing the leaves coming down, you're hearing the leaves on the trees shake. Like, there's nothing better than that. Like, it's just you're breathing fresh air. So I'm 100% with you. I'm glad that you brought that up, because it is a huge a deal that we sometimes forget because we get so caught up, right?
Yeah, I mean, the other thing that I love to do, too, is you mentioned nature and you mentioned walks and you're doing all that.
Yeah.
During that time, so I'm an introvert. I'm not an extrovert.
Okay.
And so for me, I need time to basically for myself. I need self-reflection time. I need to be by myself.
Yeah.
And I love being in Prescott, walking in our neighborhood in the tall pine trees, and basically just thinking about stuff and thinking about problems and figuring out how to resolve them and figuring out what my game plan is. To me, I get stressed out, and I basically if I don't know what a plan is. And so for me, I like to figure out plans, and I figure out how to resolve issues and problems. Right. And then once I have that, I have confidence and the negativity and the lack of self-confidence goes away.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty incredible when you're having a bad day, and which everybody does. Right. This is not just an entrepreneur thing. This is not just an employee thing. It's not just a dad thing, mom thing. Everybody goes through bad days. Exactly. Everybody goes through bad seasons of life. Everybody goes through it, and it's just some people get through it in other ways. And they say, you know what, this is a challenge that God has faced me with today or this month or this last year has been one of those seasons. And I'm going to fight every single day. I think it's kind of a mentality thing of either I'm going to treat today like I'm a victim of the world, or I'm going to say, you know what, I'm a beneficiary of the world as I'm still here and I'm still breathing. So I'm going to continue to fight every single day to try to make my life better, no matter what I have to do. Even if it's as simple as going outside, putting on a coat and going on a walk and just saying, you know what, as I'm on this walk and the cold air is hitting my face, what can I do right now in this moment to help my life become better? And I just don't think that there are certain people who are really good at that, but I think that it's hard for some people because maybe they haven't heard that message before.
Right.
I know I wasn't born understanding that there's something better out there for me, or that, you know, getting through challenges is easy. Like, I had to learn that from people. Luckily, I had a great family who had taught me a lot of those things. I would get in the same rooms as some people who are successful mentally and financially and in their business and with their families, to where kind of what we were talking about before, that proximity of people that you surround yourself with, you can learn and absorb so much from those people that can help you in every aspect of life.
Right.
Not just in business. Like, the business is the byproduct of what we get to do, but our actual life is who we spend our time with and those types of things. So, I mean, you hit so many great points there. Now, we talked about negativity. Do you ever think negatively?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah?
I think it's just human nature. I think it's basically our mind that it's just how we think.
Yeah.
Right?
So how do you say, you know what, I'm thinking negatively right now. I need to stop, and I need to look at this as a challenge and not thinking about it negatively. And even with your relationships.
Right.
So you may have a relationship where you're like just negative about that relationship all the time because of something somebody else did or because of just things that have happened in the past. How do you walk through that?
I mean, if it's something that's constantly negative because it's a certain relationship with a person, I try to cut out negativity out of my life.
Yeah.
And if that relationship is not productive and it's just drains your energy every single time and things like that, it's probably a relationship that's not worth keeping.
Yeah.
Honestly.
I mean, yeah, it's so true. Until that relationship gets to the point where it's a positive thing that's benefiting both people, right? And sometimes that just means time.
Could be.
And sometimes maybe it's just, you just decapitate that thing and then it's dead forever,
Right.
So kind of fast forwarding to today. So Nick Medina owns multiple different concepts. Mm-hmm. What is something that you focus on in your businesses now? So what is the primary focus? I know that, again, we work together on things.
Right.
And I know that being unique and different and being in front of people to where, again, kind of going all the way back to where you started, like you just want to be valuable to people and you want to provide information and a service and a product that's valuable to people and makes people happy. So how do you get through that? What is kind of the focus that you have in your businesses today?
It's always a challenge between expanding and optimizing what you have. And so I think there's different seasons for different opportunities.
Yeah.
I feel that right now because of the economy, interest rates, things like that, we had to step back. And when we were expanding 3-4 years ago, interest rates were super low. We had different opportunities to expand. It was right after COVID. There were more opportunities to take advantage of. I think everything goes in cycles, and I think the opportunity to expand will come again.
Yeah.
But right now, we're fully focused on optimizing what we have and making that experience for guests and our patrons better.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Yeah.
That's kind of where we're at.
Yeah. That's amazing. Yeah. I mean, for anybody listening or watching this right now, I mean, there are so many very unique concepts that Nick has here in Arizona. And so I'm going to link all of them in the video in the description below. Take a look at them. Like I said, right now we're at the White Rabbit. It's a speakeasy here in Gilbert. Absolutely incredible. And so to kind of wrap this thing up, I want you just to talk to the people who are listening to this or watching this right now. And specifically somebody who is like, you know what, I just want better. I want more for my life.
Right.
I want something that makes me happy every day. And I know that what I'm doing right now is not that.
Got it.
And so it could be starting a business. What is your kind of advice to them to say, hey, you know what? There is more for you. Success is meant for you in their particular way. It doesn't have to be financial or business success, but kind of talk to them about, they're not happy right now. How do they get there?
So a book that really helped me achieve what I wanted to achieve, it's called Vivid Vision. If you ever heard of it or not. But basically what that does is it puts you through an exercise of envisioning your life, 3 years from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now. Why are you unhappy? What do you want your life to look like?
Yeah.
What do you want to achieve? Not only in finances, but in family, in love, in everything.
Yeah.
And the power of writing stuff down, you would think it doesn't matter, but it does matter because I did a vivid vision and I've gone back and I realized, holy crap, this actually did happen. This happened, this happened, this happened. You program your subconscious mind to basically achieve what you want to achieve and make that. In order to do that, though, you need clarity. And so that's where self-reflection, that's where really thinking of what is important to you. Money in itself, the pursuit of money in itself is not a goal. It's not a purpose.
Yeah.
What is your purpose? Is it to make the world a better place through how? For us, for Medina Hospitality, our purpose is to provide a memorable experience that people can come into. That's a unique concept. When I first walk into the White Rabbit and it's a Saturday night and it's full of people and people are just kind of engaged and they're happy and they're talking, I feel grateful because you know what? We help create this, and we're helping people, enjoy their Saturday night.
Yeah.
And I feel blessed and honored that they're spending our money and their time at the White Rabbit or hotels or anything else that we own and operate.
Yeah.
And so at the end of the day, I think gratefulness is important, and I think having a vivid vision and purpose, those are all important.
Yeah.
And just research and just be a sponge. Never stop learning.
Yeah.
I mean, that's it.
Yeah, I mean, that's an amazing way to kind of wrap this up. Vivid Vision, I haven't heard that before. I'll definitely take a look at that book. And it was kind of something that somebody was talking about this. I can't remember who it was, but they were talking about, what do you care more about, making money or being of a service of some kind?
Right.
And they were talking about how they're two completely different things. When you provide a service, that benefits all the people around you. Yep. Right. And it doesn't really do anything for you. There obviously is financial gain and stuff, but when you just care about making the money and the financial gain, you know, that's going to benefit you. Of course, that's going to benefit maybe your spouse or the people around you, your kids. But at the end of the day, it's benefiting you. And so when you can provide a service, that benefits everyone around you. Yep. And I know that with you guys, Medina Hospitality, all of the different concepts, you guys have done a phenomenal job. And so they're some of my family's favorite places to go to. And that's not biased because I know we work together on things, but they really are very unique. There is no other place like the White Rabbit or even the Edison Marketplace in Prescott, Arizona. Like, there are some incredible places that are very unique in the sense that there is nothing else really like them. So this was an honor, Nick. Thank you so much for doing this with me.
Thank you.
Again, everybody, in the description below are all the different concepts. If you live in Arizona, definitely just swing by and check them out. And make sure you tag them on socials, follow them on socials, because they're all about service and giving back to you and making sure that you have a good experience with things. So again, Nick, thank you very much. I appreciate this. And thank you guys for tuning in. See you on the next one.